All right. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, a typical Tuesday strengths deep dive on decoding your superpowers.
Yeah.
We have a really interesting set of report to go into today. We were looking at the domains
Yeah.
last week. We said we were going to do that for the next couple of weeks, but we pivoted today because I got a really interesting report that I wanted to dig into, but we will definitely revisit the domains the next time and talk about each. We have three more to go through, so we'll be doing that in the future for sure. But welcome, Linda, and I'm Teresa
Hi.
Lisum. Linda, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. Linda Karshner.
I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. Forgot to introduce us about. We are both coaches
hmm
using the Clifton Strengths Report as our methodology, our starting point,
hmm
our tool,
Right.
that once we have that result, we can really deep dive in and really offer you a new perspective on how you're showing up in the world, what's important to you,
hmm
how you lead in situations or relationships,
hmm
how you can use your strengths to articulate and communicate to those around you why you do the things you do. So we absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And we're
We-
eager to jump into this
Yeah,
report.
we were talking before we started recording and in live streaming, and it's like, I think we should just get on and talk about this because
So
we
yeah,
can't stop talking about it.
right. We don't need the recording clicked on to talk about it.
Right.
So, so we are going to go ahead and I'm going to screen share. We're going to just talk a little bit about the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which you get from the Gallup
Right.
website. It's a
hmm
half-hour assessment,
hmm
and it's over 100 questions. You want to answer just off the top of your head. You don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah.
There is an investment.
hmm
I highly recommend you purchase all 34 of them to be visible when you're done, because
hmm
that's the cheapest way of doing it.
It is. We've done the math.
Yes, we've done the math. They do, the website does give you the five options, so you can
Uh-huh.
take the assessment. You only get to see five, though. They withhold the rest of them until you pay more money, which is fine. But if you buy all of them up front, then you're gonna save a little bit of money. But once you have that investment made, you're gonna take the assessment, get your results immediately. Let us dig into them and we'll be able to
Yes.
share a lot about you from a perspective you may never have gotten ever before. So
Mm-hmm.
feel free to add anything to that.
I think just that the Clifton Strengths Assessment is one of the most highly respected and widely researched. It's a worldwide assessment tool. It has been used internationally. And when Don Clifton, the originator, the father of positive psychology, as he has been dubbed, when his whole thought process was, what if we started thinking about and focusing on what's right about people instead of what's wrong with them? And we have all had people tell us what's wrong with us,
Mm-hmm.
from
Oh yeah.
parents, well-meaning,
Yeah.
teachers,
Mhm.
coaches, friends, spouses, our
Yes.
kids.
Yes. Yes.
But this tells us what is right about us, what matters to us. And these are all strengths. Everybody has every one of these 34 strengths, but in their own unique order.
Mhm.
So, we've talked in other sessions about how statistically, mathematically, it's basically impossible for anyone else in the world to have your same strengths report in exactly the same order. It's a math thing.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's basically not going to happen.
So you are infinitely unique.
You
You
are.
are
Mhm,
here to bless the world with your gifts and your lineup of superpowers.
mhm.
So for me, that allowed me to see my worth and my value and the
Yeah.
importance of doing what I should be doing because there's nobody else like me or will ever be like me on the planet.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we all have that exact same uniqueness,
Mhm.
which also allows me to, when I remember it, to respect others more and accept
Oh,
more
yeah.
from them because
Absolutely.
they're operating from their own lineup of strengths in their own unique way. So
Right.
I have no business judging them or, questioning them in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I can ask for clarification and try to understand why they
Mhm.
think like they do, but
Mhm.
if we're all showing up uniquely, then just allow each other to do that and bless everybody else with their own unique strengths.
And it makes me, I'll be, have a little honesty moment. Like, I want everybody who annoys me to take this so that I see their value. Like, okay,
I love
this is your strength that's triggering me, and give them grace because it's their strength.
Yeah.
And there's just a little pulling the curtain back in the moment of Linda's mind.
Yes, and that does help.
It does
You can
help.
see and understand why they said something or why they
Mhm.
do that to annoy you. It's like, oh, that's just
Mhm.
that certain strength showing up and doing what it does.
Mhm.
It's not there to annoy me. It's just what it does. So
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
yeah, so
Not personal.
yeah, it's not personal. So it is really enlightening that way. So let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
Every strength interacts with another strength. They
Mhm.
all partner up, they all weave together. So even though sometimes we're talking about them as individual superpowers, they do all work together hand in hand in different ways. We focus on the top 10.
Mhm.
That is your zone of genius. That's where you're the most energized, the most connected with others, the most productive, the most creative, the most efficient is when you're using these top 10 strengths to their greatest advantage in an ideal world.
Right. And the more you learn about them, the more you're able to like consciously think, okay, this is what context is. Okay, either something is triggering me about context, or I need to lean into that more
Mhm.
because that's where I get my energy. And we'll talk about what that means in a little bit. But
Right.
those top 10 strengths that are your superpowers, and even though we focus on those, we think that it's wise to know what's in your bottom 5 or
Mhm.
so,
Yep.
because if Superman didn't know that that shiny green glass was his kryptonite, he wouldn't know to avoid it. So
Mm.
those bottom strengths, you're wise to know what they are so you can recognize when you're dipping into them or when you're getting kind of close to them, and you start to feel a weakening of your superpowers. You
Yeah.
start to feel drained, you start to come across as awkward to other people.
And you
And
feel stressed.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. There's a lot of stress when you're operating from down here.
Mhm.
You're kind of forcing it. It's not
Right.
as natural and as easy when you're
Mm,
operating from the top 10.
mhm. Mhm.
So we just touch upon them. They're not weaknesses, they're just
Right.
serving you
Right.
in a positive way, like these are up here in your top
Mhm.
10. So this particular person has adaptability at number
Mhm.
31. That's a person who's in the present moment, can pivot and follow the flow, what's ever happening right now in front
Mhm.
of her. But that does not mean she's not adaptable.
Right.
She has other strengths that allow her and help her
Mhm.
be adaptable.
Yeah, my adaptability is pretty low, like 27. But I have harmony high, which this
Mhm.
person has harmony low also.
Mhm.
But, with having harmony high, I that helps me to go with the flow
Mhm.
in a way that um it's not exactly an adaptability way. I don't always love it. Like the
Mhm.
purpose of me going with the flow is for consensus and everybody being on the same page, not just like with every whim.
Yeah. So just so you know that we can do these things that are
Hmm.
showing up at the bottom,
Hmm.
just in a way that's, again, more organic, more innate, more natural from these top 10. All of the middle strengths in between, they're neutral.
Hmm.
We can use them when we need to, but it's just not anything we just go to naturally.
Hmm.
A lot of people, 11, 12, 13, they will use those
Yeah.
when they need to. They kind of move in and out of those, but we're going to focus on the top 10 typically.
Hmm. Hmm.
And those top 10 we like to categorize and put in domains,
Right.
these segments right here. And you can see Gallup has kindly color coded them for
Hmm.
us. Color coding is so helpful.
Yes.
We just literally
Always
count
fun.
up, yeah, we just literally count up the colors and put them with these particular categories in these
Hmm.
domains. So we've done that for this person, and this person is really interesting.
Hmm.
She has, when you have three of any strengths in the domain, it's important to you. If you have four in that domain, that's really important to you. If you have five, it's even more important
Right.
for you to pay attention to that domain.
And when you have 7 or 8
Yeah,
of the
whew,
same domain,
right.
you're obsessive about
You're
that
obsessive.
one.
What you want to do, you want to leverage in a positive way.
Absolutely.
It's not a bad thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so this person, we've been looking at it for a couple minutes prior to jumping on.
Right.
We really wish she was in front of us so
Yeah.
we could get feedback, because she could really go in a multitude of directions.
Yes.
She has a pretty even split. So she has three relationship building
Hmm.
strengths, which are all about connecting.
Hmm.
Relationships are very important to a relationship builder. She has three influencing strengths in that top 10. And that's a person who loves to move groups of people from point A to point Z, let's say. And they know all the
Right.
way to make that happen, all the
Mm-hmm.
steps in between. That is energizing to them. So they like to influence people that way. Thus the
Hmm.
name. She has two of the other two domains, so two strategic and two executing, which means they're not as important to her as moving people forward and connecting with people.
So
Now,
just a little point of interest for people. This is one of the things we were talking about before we started streaming. If you look on the right-hand side of this report in that gray box where Teresa was showing us the color-coded domains,
right here.
CliftonStrengths says that she leads with strategic thinking. So, however, the way that we look at this, um, strategic thinking might not be as important to her as what we think relationship building and influencing might be, because there are more of those strengths for her in her top 10. However, this is one of the ways that having a person in front of us to give us
Mhm.
that feedback.
Yeah, yeah.
It may be because CliftonStrengths has the computer that processes all of this information, and they look at all of her strengths and where the other relationship building strengths are and the other influencing, and the power of, like, she has a little clump of strategic thinking kind of there in the middle, and they also take into account how quickly she answered
Mm.
the questions. Like, that is all part of it. um so we would want feedback from this person. Does she feel like she leads with strategic thinking? That is her first two strengths, 1 and 2. Excuse me. Does she feel like those are more powerful, more important to her than then connecting with the right people and moving people forward. Is thinking, creating, and learning more important to her than those two? And so we're going to go based on how we normally do it, but
Mhm.
definitely open to feedback from her, um, to set us straight.
Right, right. So we can apply our knowledge in a generic way
Hmm.
that we know that typically this is how it plays out. And many, many, many times it's right on point. But
Yeah.
in this particular scenario, this person's report, because she is so evenly divided across a couple of domains,
Hmm.
that's when it really is helpful to have that person in front of us
Yeah. Yeah.
because they might show up a little bit differently for her.
Hmm.
Now, based on where the relationship building are, and this, again, this is something we might differ on, Linda, we'll see. But
Yeah.
3 and 4 are both relationship building.
Right.
But then look at number 5. Number 5 is her influencing strength.
Yeah.
So again, does she feel it's more important to connect with the right people or to
Uh-huh.
move those people forward?
Yeah.
Only she can tell us that
Right.
because number 5 is an important strength. It's
Yeah.
pivotal, it's an
Hmm.
anchor strength, it
Hmm.
packs a lot of punch and influence on the other ones. So that might be her way of leading, how she
Hmm.
starts things.
Hmm.
You can see a person or a group of people, and she sees this vision for them. And even though they don't see it, she can
Yeah.
probably see it and help them get there and is
Uh-huh.
eager and loves to get people there. It's energizing for her. Typically, again, we're just
Right.
typically that's how an influencer plays out. But it could be really important that she doesn't want to interfere with her relationships with people, which can happen if you're trying to move them in a direction and they don't want to
Hmm.
go
Right.
because they don't feel a need to,
Uh-huh.
and they're not as energized about it as you are.
Yeah.
So she may tread lightly there and
Hmm.
figure out if this person or this group of people are willing to have her take them to where they want to go. So that's where we need the feedback. But
Right.
just doing the best we can today.
Hmm.
So I would call this person a chameleon.
Uh-huh.
That might not mean anything to anybody but us, but a chameleon tells us that she can move very fluidly between the domains depending on the situation and what's playing out. And it's very easy for her to do that. Whereas somebody who is a dominant relationship builder, who has maybe 4, 5, 6 relationship building strengths, might not be able to quickly pivot into thinking, as a strategic thinker or influencing somebody as an influencer domain. Whereas a chameleon can float fairly easy and not even think about it because it's so natural. What's your thoughts on that, Linda?
Yeah, it's just exactly what you were saying. Like this is a person who is like probably one of those multi-talented people who can fit in any situation or circumstance. But the flip side of that is when they're hesitating about something, which we haven't talked about quite as much as some of the other things, like there are more things that I have been using the word trigger way too much in this session because like I think it's a little silly that people get triggered about so many things, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a trigger for them on so many different levels because so many things are important to them.
Mm.
It's not just that someone could, like, they'd be afraid of risking a relationship. They're also afraid of not being able to move people forward. They're concerned that they wouldn't have opportunities to think, create, and learn. They're also concerned with the productivity, because those are, it's a 3-3-2-2 split. So those two twos are important to them as well.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Lots,
it's
again, lots going on here.
yeah, yeah, lots of depth and complexity.
But let's focus on number one and number five.
Okay.
Those are important strengths.
Yeah.
Um, Context is at number one. This is the
Mm-hmm.
highest energy,
Mm-hmm.
energizing strength for her. So
Mm-hmm.
that means it's really important to her. And
Right.
context has always been something that I kind of struggle with understanding
Yeah.
because it's very low for me. So I don't totally understand it, how it plays out for people. But I have had conversations with people who have context high, and
Mm-hmm.
they own it, man.
Yeah.
They just totally get it, but they have trouble explaining it to other people outside of themselves.
Yeah.
So the great thing about understanding strengths is it does give you a language and a way of talking about yourself or somebody else in terms of their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, well, my context is I value history, I value the past, I use the past to help me make my decisions now. And
Mm-hmm.
you could just verbalize that to somebody who might be triggered, we'll use that
Right.
word,
I know that
by
word.
what you like. How come you can't make a decision fast? Well, I analyze them trying to figure it out, and they can use some of those words to help explain themselves
Mhm.
to other people.
Yeah,
So,
someone with context high is like they live and die by the old adage, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. But they also see that in a positive light. If you don't
yeah, yeah.
learn from history, you don't have a good blueprint or a good foundation for the present.
Hmm.
So people with context high kind of see the past as being a more stable sort of environment to draw from, where the present is always changing. And with adaptability low, we touched on that earlier, like that is kind of overwhelming for someone. The present can be overwhelming at times for someone with adaptability low and context high, like just too much change is happening.
Hmm.
Slow it down a little bit, back to the more simple times.
And the past doesn't have to be the far past.
Right, right.
It could be yesterday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it past encompasses a spectrum of time. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't have to be, like I said, a very far distance past. So that's
Hmm.
good for me to keep that in mind because my
Hmm.
mind immediately goes to the distant past.
Right, yeah. And I
And
love history, but context is low for me,
right, right.
you
Same.
know? And but I think I've kind of figured out that I love the characters of history, the
Mm.
stories, the people, what happened to them, and I'm a relationship builder.
And that
So,
could be similar for her because
yeah.
she does have relationship building high.
Hmm.
And yes, she might enjoy the people that show up or have shown up for her
Hmm.
historically or in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she might bring that information forward to this present moment to
Hmm.
help make some decisions. So it's an interesting strength for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
is.
yeah, and I admire people who have it high and
Hmm.
just use it so naturally in their
Hmm.
lives because it's a foreign concept to
Yeah.
me, for me personally, but very energizing for this
Yeah.
particular person, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
Now let's look at number five, which is
Right.
activator.
Activator. Interesting.
Yeah, activator is a person who's going to boom, take action. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out later. I'll get permission later, but we're going to go.
Right. What do they say? It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Right,
Like,
right.
let's just do it.
Yep.
And the kind of the negative side, people who don't understand activators, they say they're a ready, fire, aim kind of person.
Mhm.
Like they get a thought in their head, they take action and let the consequences
Yeah.
happen, let the chips fall where they may.
Right,
It
right.
For them, like those thoughts, and almost before they have a thought, it's turned into action.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that someone with context high
Yeah, that's a
also
good
has
point.
activator high, like they're considering the past, but they're quick to act.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I would love to always have a friend or and if I'm in a group, I want an activator in there
Yeah,
to get us going, get us
right?
moving, kick us in the butt,
Yeah,
move us in the direction we need to go. And
yeah.
that is so energizing
It
to
is.
an
Yeah,
activator. Um, but then once everything's going, then they're ready to go on to something else.
exactly.
So, okay, they got the ball rolling here. Okay, I'm good. Now I'm going to go over here and get this ball rolling.
And that could cause, it's just the example of what we've been talking about. That can cause frustration for other people in their lives because
Hmm.
they can come across as, being shallow, like not following through on things. And, where to them, the following through was turning that thought into action and then turning the next thought into action.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, and we need to harness our strengths, all of us do, and be aware of how they can kind of turn ugly, but also it would help other people to for you to be able to explain, I am so energized by getting things
Hmm.
started. I have a good friend who has maximizer high in her, like, six or so. She's not a starter, but she's an improver of what's already started.
Mm.
So that's, you can partner up. Now, this
Yeah,
person
yeah.
has maximizer pretty high too, but, partner up with someone who is a maximizer if you have activator high, someone who can take your great idea that you were the catalyst for and continue to improve it.
Did it just disappear?
No, I'm seeing it.
Oh, because I'm not. I don't know where it went.
No, no, it stayed.
It
It's
said the
perfectly.
screen share is paused, and I don't know.
Oh,
I
well, I
don't
don't know if it's paused. I see it.
Okay, as long
I
as
see
you
the
can see
strengths
it. I
report. Yeah.
can't though, but
Oh,
we're just,
you
I'm not
can't.
gonna touch anything now.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been touching some weird things in the last half hour that I don't know what I'm doing, and then I don't know how to get back to them. But we
Right.
will keep it right where it's at. Now, I do want to just to when we're talking about activator and context. Well, activator is, let me find it here. This person feels that their impulses are always valuable, like what
Hmm.
they're inspired to do in that
Hmm.
moment is going to
Hmm.
be valuable to her and to other people. Again,
Right.
we're just guessing. We
Right.
don't really know for sure.
Hmm.
Um, so let's see what I guess I'll just talk about that. What else is can I say about activator? Activator is it's an energetic strength. So
Okay. Hmm.
she, like I just said, she gets the inspiration from inside of her
Hmm.
and has trusted herself enough to go with it, knowing that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
That's her connectedness is probably telling her, oh, it's going to work out.
Hmm.
Because, things always work out for us. So things
Hmm.
are always happening for you. So just go with that first impulse and
Right. Just
take
do
it
it
away.
because it's all going to
Yep.
work out anyway. And positivity right there, little connectedness positivity activator sandwich. So with positivity high, I'm sure she's like, it'll be good. It's all good.
Yeah, for
Everything's
sure.
good.
This person I definitely would want in my group for my
Hmm.
projects, getting them done for sure. Now, this person, just quickly, I'm looking at individualization.
Yeah.
This person is really going to focus on somebody in front of her
Hmm.
and be able to pick out their unique qualities and how they
Yeah.
can benefit the group or somebody else or whatever's happening in that
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm.
So, a person, so yeah, the relationship building is important, loving connection. It's important to be with people, people energize her, but she's able to focus on the person right in front of her.
Mhm. And with woo at number 10, uh, you would just feel so like charmed by this person if
Mhm.
when you met them, because they love to win others over, and yet at the same time it's not just like this sort of blanket, eh, all y'all, everybody.
Right.
They see people as individuals. So
Mhm.
they're charming and they want to get to know people, but they kind of look you in the eye and they see who you are.
I love that.
So that this would be a really neat person to meet, just at a party,
Mhm.
or in any kind of setting.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Like, I see you. I
Mhm.
understand you. I want to
Mhm.
learn about you. I'm sure
Right.
I would probably get that feeling from her.
Yeah.
Um, Now I did want to jump back to how important it is for this person to pay attention to and prioritize their own energy.
Yeah.
It's very important for them. So as an activity and action step she could do, she could make a list of activities and things to do and people and places she likes to be in that energize her, because it's going to be
Yeah.
important for her to keep her energy high and
Mhm.
positive and a
Right.
really bright frequency. So
Mhm.
in my opinion, that would be something to protect and be
Right.
very aware of that. Um, so energy seems to be important to this person.
Right.
Internal responses to things, how she responds energetically, and protecting her energy and allowing only good stuff in, and good stuff to help keep that energy high. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, but this is going to be very important to this person.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
they're feeling drained, they can look at that list and find out, oh, I got to go pick one of my positive, high energy things that I appreciate and I like, pour into themselves,
Mhm.
pour into themselves. What is it? Feeding your soul.
Right.
It's going to be very important for this person to feed their soul on a regular daily basis, probably,
Mhm.
just to keep that energy where she feels the best at. Um, so anything else that I watching the time, I'm sure
Yeah.
we went a little bit long today, but
We always do.
so anything
Uh
else you want to pull out
yeah,
here?
just a very, very interesting strengths report. I just kind of peeked down to number 13, where they have relator at they're sitting at 13, and someone who has woo at 10
Mm-hmm.
and relator at 13. Not that any strength is like the exact opposite of another strength, but these would sort of be opposites. Um, Someone with woo, it's about winning others over, breaking the ice, and relator is someone who's energized by having a small inner circle of deep, close relationships that they want to work with. So this person has both those things,
Yeah,
which is
kind of right in
fascinating.
there, pretty
Yeah.
close to each other.
Yeah, pretty close.
So I'm guessing it's energizing to meet a lot of people and,
Mhm.
when you're in a group setting, but then that might take a lot of her energy.
Right.
And when she's done, she's gonna retract, rejuvenate herself,
Right, regroup.
go with her little small group where she can, yeah, be revived and re-energized
Mhm,
within that small contained group.
mhm.
Again, we don't know for sure
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she's not here to ask, but
yeah.
it's how we're interpreting.
Hopefully, she'll watch the recording of this and, get some insight, and she can correct us. We would
Yeah, for
love to be
sure.
corrected.
For sure. Yes, we do. So such good stuff. And we really hope everybody watching is starting to get a sense of how fun it is to know more about yourself, why
Yeah.
you want to know these things, how
Mhm.
you can, it really, again, is important in terms of your relationships and the people around you and being
Yeah.
able to explain yourself.
Mhm.
Knowing your strengths is so helpful. like if you're applying for a job or you need a resume done, like you can pull from your top 10 to show somebody else, a potential employer, who you
Absolutely.
really are at the core,
My
not
son's
just your strength.
fiance has done that several times in a job interview because they always ask what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Right, right. And
And they're flabbergasted when you actually can.
right, can articulate.
Yeah.
And I meant to say skill set. So we have a
Yeah.
skill set which we can learn and
Right.
be really good at, but
Hmm.
it's not who we are at the core.
Right.
So to be able to articulate, lean into those, use them, and amplify them is really just going to enrich our lives on so many levels in so many areas of our lives. So
Hmm.
I think that's what we particularly like about this information. Um, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So we shall see you the next time. We are so
Yeah.
grateful that everybody listened in, and
Hmm.
hopefully you were able to glean and, pick some gem from this that resonated with you. If it was too much for you, just let it go.
Yeah.
You'll be ready for it when you're ready for it, but
Right.
hopefully you're starting to get a sense of, oh, this is really cool stuff, and I see why I would want to do this for myself. So
Hmm.
if you do choose to take that next step and invest in yourself, you're going to want to go to the Gallup website. You
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
purchase a code is what they
Right.
ask you to do. Then you take that code, you just copy and
Mhm.
paste it into another page, and that gives you access to the assessment. And then when you get your results, hey, bring them over to us. Let us see them, and
Yeah.
we'll gladly take this time to dig into them and give you
Yeah.
some insights
Some little
that,
tidbits.
yes, that you might not get from reading the Gallup website. And I do want to acknowledge Gallup. We
Yeah.
love their results. That's why we're doing
Hmm.
what we do. We appreciate them. And I want to give a shout out to our mentor and
Hmm.
our coach, Eddie Villa, who brought this to us and his own twist on it, which we think is a lot more nuanced and faceted
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
just what Gallup
Hmm.
offers. So we're
Hmm.
just biased, but
Right.
just partial that way. But we just really feel we have learned to personalize these strengths a lot more than Gallup does.
Hmm.
They're more like business
Right.
oriented, where we can take it down to an individual level. But
Hmm.
we want to acknowledge both of
Hmm.
those,
Yeah.
the person and the entity of the Gallup.
Yep.
So thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you,
Thank you,
Linda. I
everyone.
love this.
We have so much fun with
You
this.
certainly do. So we will see you the next time. Thank you, everybody.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.